Hi everyone, and welcome to Speak English with Us. I'm Melody, and today I want to tell you about a student I have worked with. Let's call her Rosa. Rosa has been studying English for 4 years. 4 years. She can read articles in English without a dictionary. She can write emails to her boss, no problem. She watches English shows, sometimes without subtitles. And when she reads, she understands almost everything. But the moment someone speaks to her in English, a colleague at work, a stranger on the street, someone at the airport, something happens to Rosa. She freezes. To freeze means to stop completely, like a computer that suddenly stops working. Her mind goes blank, her heart starts beating fast, and no words come out. Not one. And here is what broke my heart when I first heard her story. Rosa believed, with everything inside her, that the problem was her English, that she needed more vocabulary, that her grammar wasn't good enough, that her accent was too heavy. She told me, "Melody, I just need to study more, and then I will be ready to speak." Maybe you have said something like that too. I'll speak when I'm ready. I want you to really sit with that sentence for a second. Because by the end of today's episode, I think you are going to feel very differently about it. So here is what we are going to do today. I am going to show you the real reason Rosa couldn't speak, and I promise you it is not what she thought. Then I am going to share the one mistake in English learning that is truly impossible to fix. And finally, I am going to give you a 30-day plan, practical, simple, step-by-step, that Rosa followed to completely change her relationship with speaking English. Let's get into it. So, what was Rosa's real problem? It wasn't vocabulary, it wasn't grammar, it wasn't accent, it was fear. Fear, that uncomfortable feeling you get when you think something bad might happen. And for Rosa, and for millions of English learners around the world, that fear sounds like this. What if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? What if they don't understand me? What if I say something embarrassing? And I want to be clear about something. This fear? It is completely normal, completely human. I understand it because I have felt it myself. In my own language learning journey, most people feel this fear. The difference is what they do with it. Here is something really interesting. When researchers study language learners, people just like you, people learning a second or third language, they find that the biggest barrier is almost never the language itself. It is something psychologists call communication apprehension. That is a big phrase, right? Let me simplify it. Communication apprehension means the anxiety, the nervousness, the fear of communicating with another person. And for language learners, that anxiety can be paralyzing. Paralyzing, that means it stops you from moving. It keeps you stuck in place, even when you really want to move forward. Now, where does this fear come from? I want you to think about your school days for a moment. When you were a child in class, what happened when you made a mistake? Maybe your teacher corrected you in front of everyone. Maybe classmates laughed. Maybe you felt embarrassed, and your face went red, and you wished you could disappear. And slowly, your brain learned a lesson. Making mistakes in public is dangerous. It is safer to stay quiet. It is better to say nothing. And honestly, that lesson is not always wrong. In some situations, being careful makes sense. But when it comes to language learning, carrying that lesson with you is one of the most harmful things you can do. Because here is the truth, and I really want you to hear this. Mistakes are not the enemy. Mistakes are the lesson. Every single mistake you make when speaking English is data. It tells your brain something important. It gives you a chance to grow. But silence? Silence teaches you nothing. And we will come back to that idea, because it is one of the most important things I want you to take away from today. Now, I want to introduce another idea that completely changed the way I think about speaking. And I think it might surprise you. Speaking is a physical skill. I know you probably think of English as something that lives in your brain. Vocabulary lists, grammar rules, sentence patterns. And yes, those things matter. But here is what most people forget. Speaking also requires your body. Your tongue, your lips, your jaw, your throat. These are all muscles. And like any muscle in your body, they need to be trained. They need repetition. They need practice, not just study. Let me give you an analogy. An analogy is a comparison that helps explain something in a simple way. Imagine you want to learn how to play the piano. So every day you watch piano tutorials on YouTube. You read books about music theory. You understand rhythm. You understand notes. You understand timing. You know a lot about piano, but you never, not once, actually touch the keys. Will you be able to play? Of course not, right? Speaking English works exactly the same way. You can study for years. You can know hundreds of vocabulary words. You can understand grammar perfectly. But if you are not actually moving your mouth and making sounds in English every single day, your speaking will not improve. Because understanding lives in your brain. But speaking lives in your brain and your body. Both. At the same time, this is what language researchers call muscle memory. Muscle memory, that is when your body learns to do something automatically, without you having to think about every step. A pianist doesn't think about every finger movement. A driver doesn't think about every turn. Their body just knows. The more you practice speaking out loud, the more natural it becomes. The words start to come faster. The hesitation means that pause before you speak when you are not sure. The hesitation starts to shrink. Your mouth learns what to do, but only if you practice. Only if you actually speak. So let me ask you something simple. How much time did you spend studying English this week? And how much time did you actually spend speaking? Be honest with yourself. Because that gap between studying and speaking, that is exactly where most learners get stuck. And that was exactly where Rosa was stuck. Now here is something I really need you to hear, and I want you to really listen to this, okay? You already have enough English to start speaking today, right now. With the English you have at this very moment, I know that might be difficult to believe, but think about it this way. With the English you know right now, you could introduce yourself, you could ask for directions, you could describe how you are feeling, you could talk about your family, your job, your favorite food. Could you do it perfectly? Maybe not, but could you do it? Yes, absolutely yes. And this was exactly what Rosa didn't understand. She was waiting to reach some imaginary level where she would finally feel ready. But here is the thing about that level. It doesn't exist. There is no finish line where you suddenly feel ready to speak. Fluency means the ability to speak smoothly and naturally. Fluency doesn't come before speaking. It comes from speaking. That is the only way it has ever worked for any learner in any language. So I want to give you permission today. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to speak with the English you have right now, not the English you wish you had. You don't need better English to begin. You need to begin to get better English. Say that again with me. You don't need better English to begin. You need to begin to get better English. And one more thing I want to say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Your accent is not a problem. Your accent, the way you pronounce words based on your native language and your background, that is part of who you are. It is not a mistake. It is not something to hide or be ashamed of. When you speak, people hear your message. They hear your ideas. They hear your effort. Most of the time, they are not listening to judge your accent. They are listening to understand you. And that is all that truly matters. If you are finding this conversation helpful today, we would be so grateful if you could take a second to subscribe to our channel. It really does make a big difference for us. And now, let's talk about the one mistake in English learning that you truly cannot fix. It is silence every other mistake. Mispronouncing a word, using the zong tense, forgetting a vocabulary word mid-sentence. Every single one of those mistakes. You can learn from them. Someone corrects you, and now you know. You say something wrong, you hear it back, your brain adjusts. That is how learning works. Mistakes are the engine of progress. Progress, that word means getting better, little by little, over time, one step at a time. But silence has no engine. When you choose not to speak, when you stay quiet because you are afraid of making a mistake, nothing happens. No learning, no feedback, no correction, no growth, just silence. And time passing, think about Rosa again. For 4 years she studied, but for 4 years she also stayed quiet. Every time she had an opportunity to speak English, she found a reason not to. And so her knowledge grew, but her speaking ability stayed frozen. Exactly where it was the day she started. Here is something that might make you feel better. Fluency is not about how many words you know. Let me say that again, because it is important. Fluency is not about how many words you know. Fluency is about how many words you are willing to use. Even when you don't know the exact word, you can find another way. You can describe it. You can go around it. Native speakers do this all the time, you know. Imagine you forget the word umbrella. What do? You say the thing you hold above your head when it rains. Does the person understand you? Yes, completely. Did you fail? Absolutely not. That is real communication. That is fluency in action. Okay, so now I want to give you something practical. Something you can start today. Not next week, not when you feel ready. Today. I call this the 30-day speaking challenge. And I want you to know right now, it is not complicated. It is not expensive. You don't need a tutor. You don't need a special program. You just need a phone, 10 minutes a day, and the willingness to be a little bit uncomfortable. Can you do that? I believe you can. Here is how it works. The 30 days are divided into 3 phases. 3 phases, meaning 3 different stages, each one building on the last day. Days 1 to 10. Think in English. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you make coffee, before anything else, spend 10 minutes speaking out loud in English. Just talk. Talk about your morning. Talk about your plans for the day. Talk about how you are feeling. It doesn't matter what you say. What matters is that you say it out loud in English without stopping to translate in your head. Then, every night, record yourself speaking for 2 to 3 minutes. Just talk about your day. And then, and this part is important, listen back to the recording. I know. Honestly, most people hate hearing their own voice. I did too, at first. But this is how you hear yourself the way others hear you. This is how you learn phase 2. Days 11 to 20. Train your ears and your mouth together. This is where we add something called shadowing. Shadowing, that means you listen to a native English speaker, and you repeat exactly what they say, at the same speed, at the same moment. Like a shadow following a person. You can use any podcast, including this one. You can use a YouTube video. Pick something about 3 minutes long, listen once, then play it again and speak along with it. Do this every day, and keep doing your nightly recordings. Phase 3. Days 21 to 30. Real communication. This is where you find a speaking partner. It can be a friend who is also learning English. It can be a language exchange partner online. There are many free platforms for this. Or it can be someone from our community, right here. 15 to 20 minutes of conversation every day. Talk about anything. The weather, a movie you watched, something that happened at work. Just talk now. I want to tell you about Daniel. Daniel was an engineer, very smart, very capable. But in meetings at work, when he needed to explain his ideas in English, he froze, just like Rosa. He couldn't get the words out. His mind went blank. He started following a plan very similar to this one. He recorded himself every night, speaking for just 3 minutes. He listened back every morning. And after 6 weeks, just 6 weeks, Daniel walked into a meeting and delivered his idea clearly. His colleagues understood everything he said. He told me later, "Melody, I didn't speak better because my grammar improved. I spoke better because I stopped being afraid of my own voice." That is what practice does. That is what consistency does. Consistency, that beautiful word, means doing something regularly, every single day, without stopping. Not perfectly, not brilliantly every time, just consistently. Because perfection stops you. Perfection, that idea of being completely without mistakes. It sounds good, but it is a trap. It makes you wait, and wait, and wait forever. Consistency moves you forward. Consistency builds fluency. Consistency is the only path. And Rosa? Rosa completed the 30 days. And at the end, she called me. And she spoke to me in English. For 20 minutes. She made mistakes, yes. Her grammar wasn't perfect, but she spoke. She communicated. She expressed her ideas, her feelings, her story. And she didn't freeze once. That is what is waiting on the other side of fear. That is what is waiting on the other side of silence. Before we close today, let's do something we love to do here on Speak English with Us. Let's do a quick word tour. A fast review of all the key vocabulary from today's episode. Are you ready? Freeze, freeze. When Rosa tried to speak and no words came out, she froze. To freeze means to stop completely. Have you ever frozen in English? Most of us have hesitation. Hesitation, that pause before you speak when you are unsure. A little hesitation is normal. Too much hesitation becomes silence. And we know what silence costs us. Communication apprehension. Communication apprehension. The anxiety of speaking with another person. It is common. It is normal. And now you have a name for it, which means you can start to work with it. Muscle memory. Muscle memory. When your body learns something automatically, through repetition, your speaking muscles need this. The only way to build it is to practice out loud, every day. Shadowing. Shadowing. Repeating a speaker's words in real time, at the same speed, like a shadow. A powerful tool for training your mouth and ears together. Fluency. Fluency, not perfection, not a perfect accent, not 1,000 vocabulary words. Fluency is the ability to communicate smoothly, and it is built one spoken sentence at a time. Consistency. Consistency. Doing something every day, not perfectly, but regularly. This is the one habit that changes everything. Progress. Progress. Getting better, little by little, one small step at a time. That is what you are here for. And that is exactly what you are doing by listening to this episode right now. So here is your challenge for today. Just one thing. Tonight, before you go to sleep, pick up your phone, press record, and speak for 2 minutes in English. Talk about your day. Talk about Rosa. Talk about what you learned in this episode. It doesn't matter what you say. Just say it out loud, in English, and listen back. That is your first step. And that first step is everything. We would absolutely love to hear how it goes. Leave us a comment. Tell us about your experience, or share one sentence from your recording. We will read every single one. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I'm Melody, and this is Speak English with Us. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Happy learning.